So for the first question, okay, the selling price of $6 is the original price. Alright, then we look at the ratio. The total ratio will be 8. Okay, calculate the profit. So the 6 multiplied by 3 over 8, then you get 2.25. Calculate her profit in percentage. So simply use the ratio of profit, which is 3 over 8, multiplied by 100, then you get 37.5. Whereby for number 3, convert the selling price into euro. So simply take 6 divided by 1.091, then you get 5.5 euro as the final answer. So for part B, keyword mathematically similar rectangle. Right, so we got the length and width of 15 and 12, and the larger photo has an area of 252.8. So the first thing we need to do is to calculate the smaller photo's area by taking 15 multiplied by 12. Okay, then the keyword calculate the length of the large photo. So simply take the area, square root it. So for smaller one, it will be square root 180 over its width over its length of 15 equals to square root for the larger picture's area 352.8 over unknown. So after the calculation, you get unknown as 21 cm. Whereby for question C, Marian buy a new camera for 483. It is a reduction of 8% on its original price. So the 483 here is the after sales price. So the original multiplied by 92%, then you get 483. So by running a calculation, you will get 525 as the final answer. For question 2, first part, describe flag A onto flag B. So it is a translation with a vector of 5, 8. Whereby for A to C, this is an enlargement from the center of point of 0, -7. Okay, with a scale factor of 1 over 2. So basically it's shrunken itself from the point 0, -7 to arrive at C. So for question number 3, A onto D. So this is actually a 90-degree anti-clockwise rotation from the point of origin. So for part B, draw the reflection of flag A in a line y equals to -1. So I've drawn it over there. You can just refer to it to identify the coordinate. Question 3, pretty straightforward for part 1. Okay, simply substitute the value of x equals to 0, x equals to 2, and x equals to 2.75 into the equation to get the respective value. Okay, so after we drew it out, for you to identify the range where y is more than -1, okay, so these 3 circles is the point where I circled it out. Okay, so the first part where y is more than -1, it will be x less than 1 more than -0.4, whereby for the other one it will be on the last circle that I drew when x is more than 2.375. So for this question, simply identify the answer from the graph itself. But for part D, okay, simply compare the equation given with the original equation. Okay, so there's a additional value of x and -1 over there. So simply shift this to the other side, then you get 1 minus x. So your new equation will be y equals to 1 minus x. So I set up couples of points. Okay, when x equals to 1, y value will be 0, and when x equals to 2, y value will be -1. So from there, I drew it out over the graph, and I identify that the intersection point here is 2.3. For part E, by drawing a suitable tangent, estimate the gradient for the graph. Okay, when it is at the point x equals to -0.25. So I drew down a line over there and I selected 2 coordinates. And I use it to run the gradient formula, and I identify its final gradient as 2.8. So no worries if your answer differ from mine. There's an acceptable range as long as your gradient is less than equals to 3.7 and more than equals to 1.7. But for question 4, okay, first thing first, keyword here, there's a total of 180 children. Okay, and for you to calculate the mean, simply find the midpoint of the height of the respective group, multiply it with its frequency, divide by 180. So for part A, my final results will be 100.2. But for part B, okay, calculate the height of the bar for each of the following interval. Okay, so there's a scale factor involved here. Okay, basically how do you identify the scale factor is to run the calculation on the information given. So 60, the group between 60 to 70, the class interval is 10 and its frequency is actually 8. So 8 divided by 10, you will actually get 0.8. However, the height itself is 0.4, which means there's a scale factor involved, and the scale factor here is actually 0.5. So moving forward for all the remaining groups, okay, after you put down the frequency and its class interval, you are required to multiply it with 0.5. Hence, for the group 1 you will get 0.8, group 2 2.8, and group 3 0.65 respectively. Part C, pretty straightforward. This is a cumulative frequency table, so you can just refer to my calculation over there. So for part D, draw out the cumulative frequency diagram. It will be as shown here. So for part E, number 1, interquartile range. So it's 75% minus 25%. So for 75%, when we drew it down, its value is 110, whereby for the 25%, it is 45. So when we drew it down, its value is 94. Hence the difference here will be 16. Whereby for the 70th percentile, 180 times 70%, we get 126. So from 126, you drew it down, you will get 109 cm. Whereby for number 3, the numbers of children with height greater than 106 cm, right? So from 106 cm, I drew it up, okay, and I identified the value as 106. So I take 180 minus 106, I will get 74. However, my answer is actually different from the marking scheme. The marking scheme states that the range will be 66 to 72. So the difference here will be because the curve of my graph. Okay, so it results in a different final calculation with the marking scheme. So you are required to take note on this. Whereby for question number 5, show that H is 4.7. So the first thing that I did was the volume. Okay, so half times 6 times 18 times H equals to 253.8. So by running a calculation, you should be able to prove H value as 4.7. Okay, since that we have H value, we can now calculate the angle X as its opposite and adjacent has been given. So X equals to tangent inverse 4.7 over 6. So your angle here will be 38.1. But for part B, I actually split up the prism, okay, into the following shape so that it's better and easier for you to identify what do I meant. So the base here will be 18 times 6, okay, and then the height here will be 4.7 times 18. The true triangle over there, 6 half times 6 times 4.7 twice. Okay, and for the last part, which is a slanted area here. So before the calculation, you are required to identify its width by taking and using Pythagoras theorem. 6 square plus 4.7 square and square root them. So your final results here will be 358. Whereby for question 6, how many students study music? So simply takes 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 4, then you get the results as 14. How many students study exactly 2 subjects? So this will be 4 plus 3 plus 9, a total of 16. So 2 students are chosen at random from those who study drama. So first you need to identify how many students study drama. So after the calculation, you will get 22. Calculate the probability that both of them study music. So from the drama person who study music, there's 5 of them. So 5 over 22 times 4 over 21. So you're required to minus the denominator by 1 since you have selected them on the previous part. So your final answer, 10 over 231. Whereby for part B, okay, what I usually do is to list down all of the possible numbers. So X is even, so 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10, okay, and E is an element of A intersect with B, so I fill up 4 at the intersection. okay, based on the supporting information that numbers of elements that intersect between A and B is 1. So everything other than A union B is 179, so I fill up 179 outside here. So I list down the remaining value of A, which is 2, 6, 8, and 10. And the last two numbers belongs to B, which is 3 and 5. So for question 7a, calculate the triangle PQR's area. So since that we have the angle and both its connecting side, we can use the formula which goes by 1 over 2 times PR times RQ times sine PRQ. So after the calculation, you get 42.23. Whereby for you to calculate angle BCD, okay, first thing that I did was I used the sine rule. So sine 123.5 over 21.3 equals to sine BCD, which is the question requirement, over 11.6. So after the calculation, you will get the angle as 27. So for part B, number 2, calculate AD. First thing that I did was to calculate the angle CBD, okay, because the area of a triangle is 180, so minus the information we identified, 27 and 123.5, the balance will actually be 29.5. With that 29.5, we now know that ABD's value is 90 minus 29.5, which is equivalent to 60.5. So with that information, we can now use cosine rule and identify ADs as 15.9. So for question A, write down the coordinate of A. So A here is actually 5, 6. And calculate the equation of the line forming y equals to mx plus c. So I selected 2 points and run the gradient calculation. And our gradient here is negative 4 over 5. Okay, you are not required to calculate for C, which is the y-intercept, as it has already been shown in the diagram. So your equation now will be y equals to negative 4 over 5x plus 3. Whereby for part C, write down the equation of the line parallel to line L, which passing through the point B. So keyword here, parallel. So the gradient will be the same, okay, and passing through point B, this is actually its y-intercept, okay, because its x value is 0. So your new equation here will be y equals to 4 over 5x minus 2. Whereas for part D, C is the point 8, 14. Alright, so write down the equation which is perpendicular line passes through point C. So our line original gradient times the new line, which is the perpendicular line's gradient, will actually be -1. So this is actually a formula that you need to memorize. So our new line's gradient will now be 5 over 4. So we have a formula of y equals to 5 over 4x plus c. So for you to identify the intersection, you need to substitute the 8 and 14 into x and y. So that after the calculation, your c's value will actually be 4. Hence, your equation now will be y equals to 5 over 4x plus 4. For the next part, calculate the length of AC. Okay, so simply substitute it into the formula, which goes by x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. So your length or unit here will be 8.54. And for you to calculate the midpoint of BC, simply take 8 plus 0 divided by 2, 14 minus 12 divided by 2, and the results will be 4 and 6. For question 9, okay, find an expression in terms of m for the numbers of sec, polo, buys. Okay, so polo buy more because the price is cheaper. So 72 divided by m. Whereby for the numbers of sec Jim buys, okay, the price actually raised. So the set he managed to buy is actually lesser. So 72 over m plus 0.9. So for you to find the difference, okay, here the difference is 4. Hence you take 72 over m minus 72 over m plus 0.9, you will get 4. So after the calculation, you should be able to prove the equation shown as above. 10 m squared plus 9m minus 162. So for part C, you actually use the quadratic formula, negative b plus minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So after the calculation, you get 3.6 or negative 4.5. And the negative 4.5 here is actually not acceptable because the price cannot be negative. Hence, for you to find the set of rice polo buys, simply take 72 divided by 3.6, then you get 20 as the final results. For last part, question 10. So calculate the angle XOY. So the first thing you need to use for the calculation is to split up the two triangles that form XOY here. So let's look at the triangle AOB first. Okay, its opposite is AB and its adjacent is A. So by running the tangent inverse, you should be able to get angle AOB, which is the same as XOB, as 61.93. Whereby for the other side of the triangle, we have BOC here. Same thing, the opposite and adjacent was given, and the calculation results will be 70.35. So for you to get angle XOY, simply add these two up, then you get 132.28. Okay, for part B, calculate the length of arc XBY. So with the radius and the angle, we can now use the formula 2 pi r multiplied by 132.28 over 360. So r here is actually 8, and your final results will be 18.47. And for part C, calculate the total area of the two shaded regions. So first thing that I did was to calculate the AOC, the big triangle. So the total base here, which is 15 plus 22.4, multiplied by its height of 8 and multiplied by half. So the total area of the triangle is 149.6. And minus it off with the XOY here. So 132.28 over 360 times pi r squared. So our r is 8. So results will be 73.88. And the difference here will be 75.72. Lastly, for question 11. So first thing that I did was to extracted 5 from both of the results, from both of the variables. So I have 5 bracket m squared minus 4p to the power of 4. So the key formula here was a squared minus b squared. So I get a plus b, a minus b. So a's value will actually be m, and b's value will be 2p squared. So your final results, 5 bracket m plus 2p square bracket m minus 2p square bracket. And for part B, make p the subjects for the formula. So first thing that I did was to shift p to the other side and multiply a minus p with 100. Okay, then I rearrange them to get PRT minus 100p equals to 100a. And I extracted p from both of them, and your final results will be 100a over RT minus 100. Okay, that will be it for paper 41, October-November 2018. So if you happen to have any question or your friends is struggling to solve this paper, feel free to share this to them and leave your question down in the comment section. So I wish you all the best for your exam preparation. Thank you.